the April 18th meeting of the Rotary Club of Louisville, President of the club, Kevin Lynch. Please silence your phones. Providing the invocation today is Jordan Clemens, Senior Investment Development Manager at GLI Greater Louisville.
Thank you, President Kevin. Please join with me. Thank you to all who are here today as we enjoy the spirit of community, the satisfaction of purpose, and the company of friends. Let us all fully realize how blessed we are and carry with us a light for the world to see. May our resolve to help others be often tested, but never defeated, so that we are frequently reminded of the words of Muhammad Ali, service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth.
Thank you. That's actually right by his gravesite. Now leads the pledge and four-way test is Thomas Stone, owner of Stone Legal Group LLC, and partner as well.
Thank you, President Kevin.
Let's all join
for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now if you'll join me in the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thanks, Tom. And now, Rotarians, please introduce your guests over here at this mic. And introduce yourself first, and then your guest, with the title, organization, and company. And guess when your name is called, just stand at the table.
Thanks, President Kevin. I'm Paul Bickle. My guest is John Whitty, who's area president of Focus CFO, former member of this club, and most importantly, father-in-law of our speaker today.
Thank you, President Kevin. I'm Julie Schmidt, and I'm thrilled to have Brady Ferris with me today. He is a U of L alumnus, and he is a financial accountant with Thornton's BP. So welcome, Brady.
President Kevin and I welcome Patty Belton with us today. Patty is a great community leader, currently with the American Cancer Society. He's been with the United Way for several years and others. We're happy to have her.
Thank you, President Kevin. Welcome, Rotarians. I'm Melissa Cobb, and I invited as a very special guest today Vanessa Benoyer, CEO of Go-To Girl, as well as president of NAVO, I don't know, a National Association of Women Business Association. Owners, sorry. Thank you. Welcome.
I think this is a record, by the way. No guests from Deline. We'll mark that down. We have several Rotarians in the spotlight as usual. Joyce Seymour and the Zonta Club of Louisville completed 500 birthing kits to be sent by SOS to countries to help women in villages who give birth on dirt floors. Just another example of our members reaching out, service above self. Just think about that. Things we take for granted. I mean, getting birthing kits, apparently, we get it, give birth to a child on dirt floor. Kristen Byrne and President-elect Lori Flannery in the news this week. As the PNC Foundation made a $100,000 grant to New Directions St. Benedict Center for Early Childhood Education to build a natural classroom. The grant expands the center's current offerings and creates an immersive outdoor learning environment. This work built in our club service project dating back in 2019. And I want to remind everyone of a membership initiative in the opportunity of lunch covered for a prospective Rotarian you see out in the community. Bring them as guests. You see leaders in the community that should be engaged with us, let them know. Invite them to a meeting. Today's the deadline to register for the GE Appliances Dishwasher Factory Tour, which is next Tuesday, the 23rd. See Ken about the details. That's quite an opportunity. Hopefully a few more will go. We have several, but hopefully there are a few more will come, because that's something you probably don't want to miss. That afternoon, the 23rd of April, we have a new member service project at SOS. come out and meet some of the newer members in a service environment. I don't know how many have been to SOS in this great. It's really quite a place. Denise here runs that today. But it's a phenomenal organization. They help basically countries all over the world that need medical equipment. And we also have a few more tickets to our Champions Day at the Downs. Great seats, overlooking the paddock as well as viewing racetrack houses. Contact the link if you're interested in that. The Environmental Committee is looking for volunteers to help with an Ohio River litter cleanup event from 9 a.m. to noon on June 1st. So contact Alex Novak to sign up for that. And finally, the price increases tomorrow for the district conference, which will be held here in Louisville in the Mary East on May 10th and 11th. Please join me, Lori, Deline, and others going. And several members actually participating in that leading that initiative conference. Keynote speakers for a couple of days are Scott Collins and Whitney Austin from your club. And Alex Novak is leading a discussion about the Ohio River cleanup. Past Miss Gene West, one of the best town presidents ever, will serve as the mistress of ceremony. You can find more details and links in the weekly sparks. I'd like to invite to the podium our District Governor, Tom Reed, to share a special project. By the way, Tom has a lot of bottles with him, but he doesn't have a drinking bottle. He's going to tell us about a little raffle with, or a little donation opportunity with rubber bottles.
Over there.
Well, thank you, and again, like Kevin said, it's $99 to the conference today. Tomorrow, management comes $129. So if you're going, I would like for you to make sure you get it for $99. If at all possible, you have a number of people in this club that are going and are going to be representative. Like since it's in your community, I would like to see a larger number because next year it's in Hodgenville, and I'm not too sure how many people are going to travel to Hodgenville. At the same time, Fred Callen's not here, but Fred is going to be coming a night early because he is a major donor. And major donors, we have a reception, and I guess Paula Grisanti was kind enough to not only have the reception at her home, but also, I learned about 2 days ago, she's going to, I gave her a budget. She took the budget, says, make it a donation. I said, well, we're going to make it a Paul Harris Fellow, at least one, for y'all's club, and she's going to name it. So hopefully you're friends to Paul. The other thing, we have auctions, live and silent, that I would like for you all to think about. Each club is asked to put together some kind of a basket that represents what their community is about. Okay? So if you get a chance, this club does so many different things that, again, like I said, you've got a lot of different things that you can put together. Now, being from Bardstown, guess what's going to be in my basket? Not only is regular bourbon, but also I have a Polio Plus bourbon that I'm going to put in there in addition. And of course, at the conference, I'm going to try to move. I had 156 of those bottles. I bought a barrel. I put them into bottles in January. We put purple wax on top to dedicate it to Polio Plus, purple pinky. And then secondly, like the all postage goes to Polio Plus. The other thing I would like for you all to also do, besides the baskets though, is this club is great at all the different things that you do. You apply for awards, okay? You've got many things that you could do as far as applications for the things that you do. Check the spectrum this month. It's been out about a week. And you have to just click on the area that's going to talk about awards. And I think you all will bring home a bunch of awards. Okay? And I think Spectrum Awards, Early Bird. By the way, we talk about a 2-day conference. Well, you're registering on Friday at noon. You're leaving on Saturday at noon. I don't know if that counts as 2 days or not. But anyway, please come to the conference. Thank you.
Maybe that's a a full day for some Rotarians have to eat. I'd like to invite to the podium Chris Manzo, the owner and principal of SNDPX Sandbox Design Collaborative, co-chair of the Membership Development Engagement Committee, and Paul Harris Fellow to induct some new members.
Just, you can grab the mic off of there.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hey, I'm doing a new introduction, but some of you haven't seen me in a few months, so Chris Manzo here with Sandbox Design. Thank you, President. Fellow Rotarians, it is the duty of our Rotary Club to add new members from time to time, so that we not only increase our usefulness and influence as a club, but also extend the spirit of community and Rotary throughout our community. Today, it is my honor to formally induct Philip Kester. You've been elected to membership in this club because we believe you to be a worthy representative of your calling and possess qualities that will permit you to exemplify in your public, business, social, and private life the true spirit of Rotary, that is service. You've been admitted not only to the Rotary Club of Louisville, but to the worldwide organization of over 46,000 clubs. And by virtue of your membership here with us, in this club, you will be welcome into the Fellowship of Rotary throughout the world. Rotary membership adds value to those who engage, whether by attending meetings or events, participating in service projects, or sharing your knowledge and talents to carry out the principles of Rotary into the community. We now formally induct you as a member of the Rotary Club of Louisville. In terms of introducing Philip to the club, he joined the Waterfront Botanical Gardens as president and CEO in January 2024. No small shoes to fill there after a very strong start to the Botanical Gardens. Philip is a Louisville native, a boomerang, returning back after many years spent in Chicago and LA, leading marketing and development initiatives at the Los Angeles Philharmonic, Chicago Symphony Orchestras, and the Lyric Opera of Chicago. Philip returned to Louisville with his family in 2020 and held several senior positions in the Kentucky Opera before becoming executive director of the Louisville Ballet. Now in its 5th growing season, Waterfront Botanical Gardens is reclaiming the site of a former landfill and serves as a live, living museum offering environmental, ecological, and horticultural education. Beyond his professional endeavors, Philip, along with his wife and 2 kids, share a passion for exploring public gardens during their travels. He is an advocate for the importance of these vital natural spaces exemplified by his work at the Waterfront Botanical Garden. Welcome, Philip.
Now I want to invite to the podium. Here he is, Gil Holland, associate community developer and film producer. Okay, to introduce our speaker. That's amazing to get who he is down to like 4 or 5 words. We did. We talked about just the important stuff Gil did. It's like a 5-page resume. You know, I haven't seen it.
Nice job.
But he's the main guy behind both Nulu and Portland, and those are big things. Okay.
Well, anyway, I'm so honored to be here. When they asked me to introduce Alli, I was like, how much do I have to pay for that? Like, do I have to make a donation somewhere? And then I guess
I'll take it.
Since I'm a film producer, I'll say, you know, sometimes people talk about star quality. And before I started making movies, I was always like, well, that's kind of a bogus thing, isn't it? But when you've watched hundreds of audition tapes, sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, that person actually has star quality. And that's why we're here with Alli Truttmann, because I have the boring resume, which I'll read, but I just want to say, as being involved in the startup community, it's always very fun when Alli's at a party, because not only does she like write in the room, but everybody in the room, struggling entrepreneurs, are like, it's possible. Like good things are going to happen when Alli's around. So anyway, Alli's the founder and CEO of Wicked Technologies, a smart betting company based here in town. Even though when I thought maybe it was Boston, like Wicked, smart. The company's first product, Wicked Sheets, won the Good Housekeeping Best in Sheets Cooling Award, huge. And then she got a spot selling her product on QVC. She pivoted the company's core product after suffering supply chain disruption during the pandemic, and then promptly began R&D, research and development, on washable smart incontinence pads. Originally, this idea of the Wicked Smart Pads was designed to meet the needs of her aging grandmother who suffered issues related to incontinence and bed sores. Wicked Technologies has been awarded almost $500,000 in grant funding from both the National Institutes of Health and the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and she just closed a $1.5 million equity round last month. She has degrees from Bellarmine and U of L in child psychology, personal training, and also is an adjunct professor in psychology at Bellarmine. With no further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Alli Truttmann.
That was so great. Should I audition for a movie? They'll say, she's good, but that girl sweats a lot. You can't keep her on the camera. Honestly, that's actually why I was running a little bit late. I changed 4 times. I decided on my green outfit and it was perfect. But those pits had cotton in it, and let me tell you, a cotton pit and a speaker engagement does not work. I know, sorry, I'm already starting with the sweat jokes. Hi guys, it is so lovely to be with you guys again. I was actually thinking about the first time I spoke at the Rotary. This was some 6 years ago, I believe, and it was at the Fraser Museum back then. And I know the keyboard gentleman is here still. Is the gentleman who played the keyboard somewhere over here? Yeah, Charlie. You made my circus dreams come true. At the end of my presentation, that first Rotary event, they said, well, if there's anything left, what would you like to do? And I said, Charlie, play me some sheet folding music. And I folded a fitted sheet in front of the audience while Charlie played it. So it was like my circus dreams came true. I was like, so thank you. Okay, so I'm here to tell you a little bit behind the scenes about my business. When I first spoke to you guys, I was running what was called Wicked Sheets. And as Gil mentioned, we are now Wicked Technologies. And so what started as my first pillar product, Wicked Sheets, you'll see here, has now kind of taken a back seat. And Wicked Technologies is our branded house, if you will. And we've introduced 2 new product lines, and I'm going to share a little bit about both of those today. The one that came after Wicked Sheets was actually Wicked Little Sleepers. That's our green logo over here. For dribbles, drools, and sweat. Babies don't sleep when they're wet, so we want to keep them cool and dry all night long as well. And then most recently, the Wicked Smart Pad. And I will tell you guys a little bit about that. As Gil mentioned, it was inspired by my grandmother, who was sleeping wicked at the time, but was diagnosed with dementia, which led to some issues with incontinence, which led to bed sores. And so what does an entrepreneur granddaughter do but try to create a product that will help ease the pain of her family? And so my heart has been in every single one of those products. I'm also now a mom since I started the business. And what I want to share with you guys today is that knowing your customer is probably the most important part of my product journey, but I would assume it's the most important part of every single product or service company that's out there. So I always like to start with how it began. That is actually a meme that one of my dear friends made of me when I was on QVC. He said he took all these screenshots of me, and at that moment I was going, I just get so sweaty. And then he made a meme of me. So I like to share that. As I've mentioned numerous times, I have always been a sweaty person. Some people sweat in their palms, some people sweat in their pits, some people sweat in their feet, some people sweat in their breasts, some people sweat in their groin. My sweat actually comes at nighttime. So, after 4 years of playing collegiate soccer, I started playing indoor soccer with the boys at Mockingbird Valley Soccer Club, and of course I tore my ACL. So, didn't get injured once in college, but started playing with the boys and got injured. Tore my ACL, found myself bedridden, and going through some rehabilitation, because I opted for a little bit of a more challenging surgery. And wouldn't you know it, as I was trying to get better, I noticed that I was sweating while I was in bed, while I was laying there, while I was trying to sleep and rehabilitate. And as everyone knows, sleep is the root of all productivity during the day, right? Particularly when you're trying to rehabilitate. Anybody have a bad night's sleep last night? Maybe were you sweating towards bad dreams? Okay. So we know that when you're not sleeping well, it affects your day. Maybe it's not right now, but that gradual effect over time can really add up to some uncomfortable days and some decreased productivity and some grumpiness. And so my dad and I were noticing this, and I said, Dad, there's got to be a better solution to this cotton that I'm sleeping on. It's crunchy, it doesn't dry, it just stays wet underneath me. But there was nothing on the market. We Googled like crazy. We went to Bed Bath & Beyond, trying to find something that would keep me cooler and drier, and just couldn't find the solution. And so we started thinking, what could we do with this sheet situation? And I jokingly suggested, well, we should just cut up my cousin Jason, who's a golfer. We should just cut up his golf shirts, sew them into bed sheets, and then we'll stay cool and dry all night long. And the family laughed, and they thought, oh, there's Allie just with another zany idea. And I was like, looked at my dad, and my dad was like, it's not a bad idea. So thankfully, like my mother, I was blessed with the gift of gab, picked up the phone and figured out how to buy scrap Under Armour fabric that was being discontinued because the color was out of date, and started getting rolls of Under Armour, discontinued Under Armour fabric, shipped to my one-bedroom apartment in St. Matthews, put on some volleyball knee pads and a tool belt, started cutting out rolls of fabric into what I thought was a sheet size, and then I looked at my pile of fabric and I'm like, yeah, we can do this. Small problem, I didn't know how to sew. So I had to go to Craigslist. This was before Craigslist was full of murderers, and I accidentally put an ad on Craigslist that said, I'm looking for sewers of specialty fabric. And I'll tell you, the top 3 applications I got, and I did hire them, one of them sewed fancy outfits for the strippers at the Thoroughbred lounges. I did hire her. One of them stamped leather for a biker gang locally, and that was a specialty fabric. And then another one was a drapery seamstress. So she was really, really familiar with the amount of fabric that goes into drapery and how specialty fabrics need to be treated. So again, this is different from cotton because it was silkier, it was lighter weight, and it had more of a performance angle to it. So here I am off on this journey. I was a therapist for children with autism at the time and doing some personal training, had started some fitness programs for kids, and I just kind of looked at how this opportunity might kind of play out over the years, and I gave myself a couple of years and thought if I could start generating some customers based on what I was doing, blogging and things like that, and I can start selling to people that aren't my parents' friends, then we might actually have a good spot in this world. And so I bartered a set of sheets and $300 to the gentleman who made Louisville Zoo's website, and he made my first website for me, and I put up an order form, and people would literally print out an order form, mail me their order and their check, and when their check cleared, I would send them a set of sheets. And I had these seamstresses all around town. I was cutting the fabric and dropping it off, picking it up, shipping it on Saturdays, working full time. But at that point, you kind of have to look at yourself in the mirror and go, am I going to do this forever? And I was very, very fortunate to meet a gentleman at a Bellarmine alumni function named Don Mucci. I don't know, anybody know Don in here? He's an insurance guy, okay. Don Mucci, dear, dear friend of mine. And I was actually speaking to his wife, and we were just kind of chit-chatting about Bellarmine and the like. And she mentioned to me that she had just undergone an early hysterectomy, hysterectomy due to her cancer, and she was experiencing early menopause. And at that moment, it struck me that I was not serving customers just like myself. I was serving people that were just like Karen, his wife. And Don came over and he said, I don't know what you're selling, but I'm buying you with Karen in tears, and I don't think I have a sheet problem, but I guess I want a set. And I was like, okay. So he said to me, and this rarely happens in the entrepreneurial world, how much money do you need? And I was like, I don't know. That is also not something you should say when someone offers money. I should have known my script. I should have said $500,000, Don. But he would have laughed me out of the room and said, good luck, kid, you're on your way. So Don took a big risk on me. He was my first investor. After about 6 weeks of what we now know as due diligence, he invested $75,000, and the number one lesson he taught me was that you cannot work on your business when you're working in your business. And so that basically took me out of my situation where I was quite literally working on the floor, killing myself to try and make these customer orders happen. And I dove in really, really deeply. And that's when I got to do my first kind of customer discovery. And so what Wicked Sheets became, it went from sleepwicked.com to wickedsheets.com. We started selling to people like myself. There's one of my pit stains. I don't know if you guys can see that. That went on Instagram. Our PR girl was like, that's perfect, let's put it on there. Oh, thanks. I thought I was selling to people like myself, the Allies, the athletes, the folks with hyperhidrosis, and people that are just generally hyper, or now we call that, in my late 30s, we call that anxiety too. Thought I was selling to people like myself, but I started thinking about Karen in that original conversation, and it turns out I was selling to what we affectionately call Sallies. Sallies are our health-conscious household decision makers. So she may have night sweats, or her husband may have night sweats, because she's my buyer. So I thought Alli was my buyer, but really it's Sally. And that was my mom, and I didn't really want to talk to her about it, because I didn't want to be like, Mom, you're with your menopause, you sweaty? She was. We also learned really detailed information about Sally. We learned what medication she's taking, we learned what publications she's reading, we learned where she's shopping, and what's most important in a buying decision. I was not going to go bricks and mortar. We kind of had heard through the grapevine that Bed Bath & Beyond was going under, and I thought, why would I give up my margin to be on the end cap and then have to pay when something goes on clearance? I'm not going to do it. I think we have more opportunity as an e-commerce business, and I can speak directly to my customers that way through blogs and things like that, and the customer chats. And so we really built a full core business around Sally. As I started getting to know Sally, she introduced me to her daughter, Amanda. Amanda was what I was not yet. She was an early pregnant or new mom, potentially nursing, who was having a flood of hormones that were creating night sweats. And so what I knew is that I just had to tweak my messaging ever so slightly and get to know Amanda just as well as I knew Sally. And guess what? We knew them very intimately. Insert the baby line. So we knew Amanda so well, we knew that she was likely going to have concerns about her child's well-being while they slept at night. Now that I'm a mom myself, I know I wanted to know how they're breathing, what their temperature was, what's happening to the drool, what happens if a diaper leaks on their pad, is their crib going to create eczema, all the things that I was concerned about. I didn't realize it, but Amanda was also concerned about that. Sorry, I need to go faster.
No, it's the projector.
Oh,
It's
okay.
got a glitch.
Okay, cool. So I learned very, very intimate details about my customer, and I think that helped us get to a point where we decided this can't be just here's a couple $100,000, let's try to become an e-commerce business. What I also was learning in the background is that manufacturing a soft goods product was very challenging. I went to school to be a child psychologist. I did not have a degree in any sort of business or manufacturing. Along the way, I went to what's called the Kaufman Fast Track program and kind of earned like a 10-week MBA so that I could learn about financial models and accounting and things like that. They certainly don't teach you about how to manufacture products. So I really was looking at this situation of we're either going to go big or we're going to go home, because what I knew about how I was being funded is that we're going to need more money. So I had been very, very fortunate that my friends and family, and probably including Don in that mixture, because it was at the time such a small amount, in the friends and family zone, I raised, maybe $100,000 between my friends and family and what Don gave me. Well, if you're buying bolts of fabric from overseas, it is no small investment. You're talking $75,000 to $200,000 just in fabric. Then you have to pay the tariff to get it here, then you have to pay the shipping costs, then you have to pay the sewers, and then you have to pay to ship to your customer, all before that customer's money hits the bank. And so we were looking at some opportunities of what are we going to do to scale? I think we have enough customer validation that this is a great product. What can we do? And so I always put up here, pitch, please. That is what I decided to do. In that Kaufman Fast Track program, I actually, at the end of the program, I entered the Venture Sharks, I think it was the second or third Venture Sharks shark competition, and it was at the Muhammad Ali Center. It was my first pitch competition ever, and I think there were probably about 10 of you in the room that were maybe there that day. Anybody there that day? I know a couple of Cliff was there. You're there. Tom, were you there? Maybe. No, maybe, possibly. The Venture Connectors community was so welcoming, and Muhammad Ali Center was just an opportunity of a lifetime. As a girl that came to Louisville to go to school, and all of a sudden I'm presenting in the center that was dedicated to Muhammad Ali, you're like, I've reached the pinnacle. So I pitched, and I was very fortunate to win that pitch competition. It was $5,000, And the joke is, and I think I really did win because of this, Bob Saunders was one of our judges, and Bob said to me, well, Allie, in his curmudgeon way with food on his tie, he flips it over, well, Allie, what are you gonna do with $5,000 if you win? And I was like, well, Bob, I'm going to the menopause convention. Food fell out of his mouth and he was like, such a place exists? I'm like, yes, it's in Orlando and it costs $4,500 to get there, so I'll use $500 in gas. And I'm bringing my mom in a blow-up bed, let's go. And he's like, oh my gosh, I think he just like literally walked out. So that $5,000 really led me down a path to, if I can pitch and win this, I can pitch in front of my customers, I can pitch in front of doctors, I can pitch in front of larger groups. So going forward to where I was leading you guys, another pitch competition popped up, and it goes perfectly with menopause. There was a woman by the name of Randy Zuckerberg. Anybody heard of a guy named Mark Zuckerberg? His sister, also a total rock star, was hosting a pitch competition out in Silicon Valley, and if you won that pitch competition, you would get a spot on the Home Shopping Network. And so it was called American Dreams Entrepreneur Series, and if you won, you would get this spot or opportunity, and Randy would kind of be your co-host. And so I decided I was going to raise a little bit of money to try and fund some inventory, and I was going to go basically do that pitch competition. And it was probably the scariest moment of my life. I read Elon Musk's autobiography right before I went out there, and I'm like, okay, if I'm going to Stanford, I'm going to learn everything about what Elon did, and I'm going to channel my inner Elon. And I get there, and I walk into the studio, and I drew the last straw to be the last pitcher in the last group. And I was like, this is either going to go really well or really poorly, because they're going to be exhausted, and it was hot, and who knows? It's always a roll of the dice when you figure out what your lineup is. Well, I looked around, and there was a gentleman with a light-up toilet in my cohort. There was a guy with a bag full of barbecue sauce that didn't have packaging on it. There was a girl who was in Christian Louboutin high heels who was selling a meal replacement tea. And then there was, I can't remember the other one. And I was like, if I don't win this pitch competition, I quit. Like, that's it. These are the indicators I need, I quit. Very fortunately, I won that pitch competition. And so a couple of big road blocks happened while I was on my road to HSN. QVC announced that they were buying HSN, and my contract with Randy Zuckerberg went null and void. So I actually had to start the process all over again, but at this point I was wise enough or directed to work with a rep group that would put me in front of QVC, and we would work directly with the reps. So all that $340,000 worth of inventory I built up for HSN, they didn't want it. And I will tell you, that was one of the biggest gut shots, because you work your way to building up inventory to go on the show of a lifetime to speak to all the menopausal women, and they tell you, we don't want that, we want different colors, we want different sizes, and I just didn't know what to do. So as an entrepreneur, I got scrappy. We had to fire a lot of staff, we had to downsize where we were at, we had to conserve cash. And I got pretty desperate, to be honest, because I knew QVC was going to give us a purchase order. I didn't know for how much, but we ended up taking a pretty predatory loan from a gentleman in town, not to be named. And we were able to build the inventory, and it put us on QVC, and I finally got to go and do my QVC deal. So here's me on QVC. I pitched. I had 6 episodes, and we made $6,000 a minute on most of them, which was really fun. And thank you. I went on after the My Pillow guy, so Mike Lindell, he's a trip. I was on with Martha, I was on with Catherine Zeta-Jones, I was on with a handful of the other ones, but they don't go into the green room with you. They have their own special green rooms and trailers. So I was sitting there like just in the hallway waiting. But Mike Lindell was actually quite nice. He came up and he was like, so you're in the sweaty sheet business? And I was like, yes, I sure am. And I'm like, do you want to talk about sheets? And he's like, sure. And so we just powwowed for a little while in the hallway, and it was a fantastic opportunity. So I had my moment of like, pinch me, this is really happening. I think we're finally gonna reach the pinnacle. So as an entrepreneur, I didn't take many vacations. I can distinctly remember going on a vacation after the QVC situation, and I was thinking, well, they're either going to give us another PO, we could keep going that route, or we could just go gangbusters on the website. We need to figure out what's going on. And it was about to be Christmas, and QVC called me while I was on my vacation. I'm like, uh-oh, this is a call I have to take. And they said, hey, we noticed that you're offering a lower price on your website than what we're offering, and that's a big no-no for QVC. And I was like, what? I didn't understand what they meant. They said, it's in the fine print, kid. We get the lowest price because we're gonna take those customers before you are, and we're gonna sell through this inventory. And I, at the time, was only offering 2 sales a year, one at Christmas and one in the summer. And I was like, I've got, 8 years worth of customers that are expecting this sale. Okay, so we had already dropped the price for me to go on QVC, and we had reached another fork in the road of what do we do? What's the business decision to make here? And it was becoming wildly apparent that QVC was probably not the best option for us because they were really, really eating into our margin. So while I was literally in a swimming suit in a lobby of a hotel taking this call, we decided to end the QVC deal. And right when you think you're at the pinnacle of success, you get tossed right back down. Because after QVC, we had a bunch of fabric that we had ordered, and it was getting ready to get on a slow boat from China to come here so we could start selling through that inventory and try to rebuild up our customer base and get some more cash in the bank. And wouldn't you know, that big thing called COVID hit, and my boat was one of the boats that was stuck on Long Beach's coast for 3 months. So here I am, now broke as a joke, trying to understand what I'm supposed to do, and I had customers that were ordering because they had already ordered from QVC, and they're like, we want to keep buying this product, what are you going to do? At first, everyone in the pandemic was very, very understanding because no one knew. But after a month goes by, they're like, where's your fabric? Where are your sheets? Where's our fabric? Then another month goes by, and we're all starting to sweat. And our team of then 7 sewers and a couple of folks in the office was also kind of getting worried about their jobs. Again, no one knew, how am I going to make money? Should I file unemployment? And I thought, we've got all this fabric, we've got an opportunity, this thing called masks are popping up everywhere. We've got elastic, we've got fabric, I've got a team of sewers. Why don't we try making masks? And so, hold on, I'm gonna go here first. So we had a lot of situations that were very, very fortunate in our back pocket that would allow us to think fast and be first to the market. And so we had this big certification on our sheets already. This was the world's first certification for asthma allergy friendly bedding. So all of our sheets and fabric is asthma allergy friendly. I was able to reach out to our partners, and they're based in Ireland, and I said, this is going on in the United States. Would I be able to extend that mark to the masks? Because it's the same fabric, we're just going to put it in a different format. And how quickly can we get this marketed and approved by your team? It took less than, I think 2 or 3 hours. We were able to be certified because we had all the scientific testing for our fabric. We started manufacturing. I kept my team employed. We got a contract with Team Kentucky. We got a contract with the National Guard. We got a couple other national contracts. And so we made $150,000 in the first day of kind of mask sales, which allowed to bridge the gap to helping me figure out what we were going to do with our team. So we also started getting really, really creative. We put the days of the week when the kids were going back to school so they knew which one was for which day and when to wash it. And we made little bundles for guys that were, I think this one was like the perspiration package or something like that, I can't remember. A sweat chamois for their golf bag, a lavender sachet for their shoes that stink and are sweaty, and a mask. And we were selling packages out the wazoo, and this was all from fabric that our partners at the Bluegrass Center for Autism had sorted from us. So we're a vocational training center for adults with autism, and that's one of our guys, Joe. He's my favorite guy. They come every Tuesday to Wicked Sheets, and they help us sort fabric, measure, do all sorts of vocational training for students who don't otherwise have an opportunity to meet jobs. That was my promise. If I left being a therapist, I was going to figure out how to keep them intertwined in what I do. And I love every opportunity we get to work with. Every Tuesday is the best Tuesday at Wicked Sheets. So we were really kind of at the next roadblock of, okay, well, masks is kind of dying off a little bit. We still don't have that fabric. What are we going to do? And something that, now I'm gonna switch gears and talk about pee. Something that I had also been experiencing right before the pandemic hit was very near and dear to my heart. And that was my sweet grandmother. So my grandmother, Shirley Truttmann, in 2017, she was diagnosed with some dementia, which led to incontinence, which led to bed sores. She developed sepsis and sadly passed away. She was a saint of a woman. This is the most beautiful soul you will ever meet. And what I noticed every time I would visit Grandma is that she would have these pads on every setting that she would put her bottom on. So they were sometimes in a lounge chair, sometimes on her wheelchair, sometimes on her bed. And I was noticing that this incontinence was happening more and more frequently as her dementia was getting worse. And my grandmother slept wicked, and every one of her care staff at the assisted living facility knew that. And they made a comment to me one day and said, you know what, she loves your sheets. They are really great against her skin, and they don't, sorry to be gross, they don't tear her skin when we're changing her. If these were just a little bit more absorbent, I think you'd have a great solution for incontinence, and maybe just give her a little bit more comfort, because we knew she was going to pass away. And so this was 2017. I went back to my manufacturing partner and I said, I've got to make a multi-layer absorbent pad out of wicked sheets. We got to make a pad. And so we made this pad. It had no technology. And I thought, this is great. But my grandmother passed away, and then all these other turn of events occurred, and that pad went into what I affectionately call my library of ideas and just got stuck in a Tupperware bin. And when masks were over and I go back to looking at what are we going to do? What is this landscape? Do we go full in on sheets? We're not going to do masks anymore? What is a girl to do? Should I just say it's been a good run, or should I just roll the dice one more time? What do you guys think I did? If you're a betting man or woman, I'll tell you, I went all in. So I actually talked to my investors and my board, and I said, there is a grant that is been announced for the NIH that's paid by the National Institute on Aging, and it is for products or services or technology that helps increase the quality of life for folks experiencing dementia and Alzheimer's. And I was like, I think we're perfect. There was a couple things that I didn't think we were great because there were a lot of diagnostic tools, but I'm like, I think we have a shot. And so I'm talking to my friends, actually an entrepreneur from the University of Louisville, entrepreneur in residence, is a dear friend of mine, and her number one job was to go and look at technologies that the university was producing in research labs and saying, you're not doing anything with it. Should we commercialize this? Let me take this from you and see if there's an entrepreneur or a company that can use this. And I'm telling her about the pad, she's visiting Wicked Sheets, and she's like, there's a researcher at U of L right now that's measuring sweat in athletes' clothes. And I was like, really? In Louisville, Kentucky? Like, well, if you can measure sweat in an athlete's shirt, you can measure pee in a pad, for sure. Because sweat and pee are very, very similar, and I know a lot about sweat, as you know. So we took a chance, met with this doctor, Cindy Harnett. She's brilliant beyond her years. And we put together our first prototype of what we now affectionately call the Wicked Smart Pad. And we've now been at that for a year and a half. I won the grant, which was $342,000, and then the state of Kentucky matched it for $100,000. And then I could go back to my investors and my board and say to them, I think we've de-risked this as much as we possibly can. Do you guys trust me? And during that grant funding, we were actually able to pilot with 3 senior living groups, 2 in New York and 1 in Knoxville, Tennessee. And so we had some customer validation. We knew that the technology worked. And I'm happy to say that we, not just $1.5 million, we just closed a $1.7 million equity round to go into full manufacturing mode of the Wicked Smart Pad. And so that is, thank you. Coming soon, website. I have increased my team, not in the sewing capacity, but increased my team with more sophisticated people than myself. And my guest today is Eric Littleton, this guy that's going to be shy really quick, the tall guy in the blue. Eric has been my dear, dear friend for 12 years. We were both in Indiana at Velocity, like working in different cohorts, but the entrepreneur groups in town, like Gil said, are close. Because we've all been in the trenches together, we've all experienced failures and wins, and we all celebrate them together. And so I've been very fortunate to add Eric to my team, another gentleman named Eric, another biomedical engineer named Paige, and then we have some sewers that are still at our 5,000 square foot facility over off of Produce Road on the other side of Newburgh Road. So we're here in town still. We aim to be here in town for a very long time, and we've also just applied for a $2.5 million matching grant for the next phase of that Alzheimer's National Institute on Aging's phase 2. So I think we're shaping up very nicely for the future. Sheets still exist to this day, but the pad has been our focus, and I truly believe that I've somehow in this crazy journey found my calling, because when we go do installments at senior care facilities and meet the residents and the care staff whose lives are affected by a sensorized bed pad, believe it or not, it's just life-changing. It's so exciting and it's so rewarding, and I'm so fortunate to be able to tell you guys about that today. So thank you so much for your time. I welcome you.
Nobody liked it.
I know. You tell a pee joke, everybody likes it.
We have some good questions for Alli. Come on.
I actually don't think I told you what the pad does. So it's a washable sensorized incontinence pad. So it's multi-layer, highly absorbent, and it detects moisture in real time. So if someone is lying in bed, and for instance right now, care staff goes in and manually checks a resident every 2 hours to see if they're wet, because briefs for an older adult typically don't have the line like your child's diaper did to tell them when it's wet. So there's a manual check every 2 hours if you're lucky. And bed sores on sensitive skin can actually form within 5 minutes. And so we believe that with real-time detection, quicker detection, it leads to drier skin and less bed sores.
If you'll indulge me, President Kevin, this is not a question. Going back to Alli talking about Venture Connectors, Venture Shark competition, there were 5 finalists. She was number 3. When she got finished, I turned to the guy next to me and I said, I don't care what the other 2 say, this is over, she won.
That's the greatest.
You've had some, kind of dangerous or frightening moments there. Which one was kind of the worst in terms of like, oh my goodness, what did I do?
I think after QVC was probably the most disheartening, because you look at this opportunity to be on the largest stage in the menopause world, right? All the shoppers for QVC are typically my menopausal age. They are my Sallies. They are the buyer I want to be in front of. So when that opportunity became a bad business decision and made my excitement go away, I think it was probably the hardest for me, but it maybe made me a better entrepreneur, a better business person, because I was starting to make business decisions as opposed to emotional and exciting decisions.
Being from Boston, we used to say wicked spot.
Yeah.
How did you know the wicked for the original one?
This was my dad and I, actually. We sat down and kind of did like a whiteboarding session, and we just kept saying to each other, well, what is it doing? It's keeping you cool, it's really keeping you dry, and it's wicking the moisture away. Oh, and we made the Boston joke. We're like, oh, it's wicked. So, yeah, some of our trademarks are on wicked cool, wicked dry, wicked clean, wicked smart. We do have a little laundry bag for some of our smaller items, and I just love that it's like a wicked clean bag, and I intend eventually to have like detergent that will help be kind of like the sales additive once you buy our products.
You talked about, entrepreneurs know each other in the community. Talk a little bit more about how the impact of that and the kind of things that come out of that.
Yeah, as I said, Venture Connectors was really where I started feeling the entrepreneur love, and it was your face that made me feel welcome, but it was also your encouragement and just your general interest that you guys would take in what it is that we're doing. And I think for any entrepreneur who is taking a risk or has an idea and they're just not sure, even though they might on the outside be like, yes, this is it, there is always that internal struggle of, maybe this isn't going to work. But when you get that external affirmation from the entrepreneur community and those that support it, like Rotary Club, for instance, That is just the tiny little bit of wind in your sail that an entrepreneur needs to say, okay, I'm going to do this. And maybe it's not the biggest leap, but it is absolutely the next step. And so groups like the new group, the Network for Entrepreneurial Women, NAVO, unbelievable support network for women, Venture Connectors, Rotary, we're all so close-knit, but you'll be surprised you do see different faces in each one of those groups, and they do serve a purpose, for sure.
I will say, I'm surprised to hear all the things she went through, because you never show, like, panic, you know, always seem like soft beat, etc., but you fooled us. Good job. Good.
So I actually have a question. And it might be helpful, it might help you sell more product. You like that kind of question?
I love it. Bring it on.
I thought you would. So my wife and I, we probably spend too much money on sheets with Cozy Earth.
Yes.
And I wonder what you could tell me about Cozy Earth compared to what you do. I know Cozy Earth is, like, for luxury, it's become very popular.
Cozy Earth is the bamboo sheet, right? Are they?
It's bamboo.
Bamboo,
Yeah.
okay. So some of you guys who are fabric connoisseurs will be surprised when I tell you, our fabric is actually a combination of polyester and nylon, which on every single one of our sales inserts, it says, not your grandmother's polyester. I remember my grandma wearing polyester pants and then going, as she walked, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna make sheets of this. Fabric technology has changed so much over the years, and now we've got it down to a scientific level where we control the pore size in our fabric, so that increases the oxygenation, how fast the sheets actually cool. And in our bedwetting product, it's actually great because the wicking components of the fabric pull it into the fabric, and it moves out to the dry surface areas of the bed, so you're not pooling liquid underneath where the sleeper's bottom is. And so we started going down the luxury path, if you will, and it was actually too flooded of a market. So I was going to be competing with the likes of like Belgian flax linen and 900 thread count cottons and things like that. And when we looked at our Google Analytics and the search engine and some of the keywords that were out there, there were very, very few people playing in our space. So sometimes it's really risky to be like, we're going to take we're going to own the performance bed sheet category. If there's only 2 people playing in it, there's either a good reason or a bad reason, right? You're either really, really fast and first, or you're going to spend a lot of money and there's going to be no customers. So we took a risk, and I decided to go the route that I knew best because I was my first customer, and really focused on performance and breathability and the scientific kind of rewards versus that luxury component. We still could command the same price point, which is shocking to a lot of people, but once we had that certification, you're paying for a lot more of the scientific validation and the kind of like good housekeeping seal of approval, if you will. Great question.
Three-pronged question. A lot of sheets are no wrinkle, they don't wrinkle. They're soaked in formaldehyde, and I'm highly allergic to it. So do you have like 100% cotton sheets? And second, do you make any linen sheets, since linen wears like Queen Elizabeth slept on Queen Victoria's sheets because they last forever?
Yes, we do. We actually are 100% polyester, and which is, I know, again, that's very shocking to people who are used to old polyester, but they've been tested. They're chemical-free, dye-free, formaldehyde-free, and that mark, the asthma allergy-friendly mark, that was what we aimed to do, because I think a lot of people hear that and their gut reaction is, that's going to be hot, that's not going to wear well, and so we've been working with our fabric engineers for a very long time to perfect that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excellent, that's great. She's always been fun to watch. She's great. Next week's meeting is here at the University Club, and Rob Gibbons is the speaker. I don't know Rob. He's a retired Air Force, but a lot of you don't realize this, but he was actually, he's flown in Thunder several times. He was a member of Thunderbirds. He's told me some of those close ones where, that's pretty risky stuff. He also moderates that on TV. He's going to talk about a world at war. How does it all end, and what does it mean to you? The world has experienced warfare at a level we haven't seen really since World War II. Major conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East have brought the world to the brink of global conflict. Rob is going to discuss the military realities and policy implications of the ongoing struggles and how they impact us here in Louisville. So register for that by noon on Monday. You'll be great. I've heard him speak many times. It's really, really good. And guests, this corner over here is where Craig Sherman will be to tell you a little bit about what Rotary is all about. So guests, just go over there for a few minutes after. Good meeting. Thanks a lot.